As the king of the multicultural verse, it is my responsibility and my duty to tell you all, the multicultural community, the truth. The truth will set you free. The truth will protect you. The truth will let you know when it's time to fight. The truth will let you know what it is that you have to fight about. And with respect to Fannie Willis, I have to warn you. I have to warn us. She is exactly what we have to avoid. If we're going to become the greatest community, not just in America, but in the world, we have to self-regulate ourselves. We have to make sure that we keep ourselves in check. Fannie Willis is the example, the perfect example of what we must avoid. Fannie Willis is the example of what happens to communities that have lost their way. In my last podcast, we talked about the African American and Latino communities losing their way. The fact that they have lost power, the fact that they, frankly, in my opinion, no longer have power, not real power. People attacked me. They said, oh, you're against black people or you're against Latinos. Again, I'm 100% multicultural, but I'm also part African American. My family is part Latino. I am for the African American community. I'm for the Latino community. They are the constituents of the multicultural community. But being for someone and caring about someone means that you tell them the truth. If you care about someone, you tell them the truth. If you want to help someone, you tell them the truth. If you don't care about someone, you don't tell them the truth. If you don't want to help someone, you don't tell them the truth. If you want someone to continue to be a victim, you continue to lie to them. And the truth of the matter is Fannie Willis is direct evidence of the failure of the African American community. She's a disaster. And I want us to avoid that. I want us as multicultural people to never walk into this scenario where we sit there and watch someone or we sit there and we allow someone who is not on our side to represent us. People, communities have a duty and a responsibility to tell themselves the truth. They have a duty and responsibility to make sure that their community isn't doing things that will destroy them. And the truth of the matter is, Fannie Willis is either incompetent, corrupt, or just dumb as a rock. Dumb as a rock. Let's talk about Fannie Willis. Fannie Willis, again, she's the Fulton County District Attorney. She's the person that made the decision to charge former President Donald Trump. I don't take a position on this. The one thing we do on the Fletchcast is, unless it involves a club member, I don't touch it. It's not relevant to us. We need to focus on us. People keep saying to me, do a piece on Donald Trump. And I say I'm not going to do that because he's not a club member. Once Donald Trump gets a multicultural kid or niece or nephew or grandchild, then he'll be a club member and maybe we'll do a piece on him. The negative, or I guess the bad part about that for those people who want me to do a piece on Donald Trump is I have a rule. I will not speak negatively about a club member in public. And so the piece I would do on Donald Trump would be about his cool multicultural grandkids or whatever. And it wouldn't be a negative piece because we're not going to do that. The multicultural community is not going to attack the multicultural community, in public at least. Now, we'll do that and we should do that and we must do that in private, but in public we shouldn't. So I don't take a position on the Donald Trump and Fannie Willis anything on the election issues. I don't. I mean, you can figure out for yourself whether it was appropriate. I do take an issue on Fannie Willis and what she's doing because it is a warning to us. It's a warning to us as to what you cannot have or you cannot allow to happen as a community. The truth about Fannie Willis is that she doesn't care about her community. She doesn't care about African Americans. She doesn't care about the African American community. Fannie Willis cares about herself. You know what Fannie Willis cares about herself by her actions. Fannie Willis's actions prove that everything that she does is about Fannie Willis. It's not about African Americans. It's not about the citizens of Fulton County, Georgia. It's about Fannie Willis. It's always been about her. Now, and let me point out one thing. It drives me crazy when people pull out this victim card. It just drives me crazy. Now, sometimes you are the victim. That could in fact be true, but Fannie Willis is not it. Fannie Willis is claiming that she is a poor African-American woman being attacked, and it's wrong to attack African-Americans, unfairly at least. I will remind you, Fannie Willis is the prosecutor, one of the few prosecutors in the entire United States of America who has used a musician's lyrics against the musician in a prosecution. Fannie Willis is prosecuting African-American rappers based upon the lyrics of their songs. She is arguing that these as far as I can see, all African-American rappers, everyone that she's prosecuted has been African-American. She is arguing that if you write in a lyric that I shot so-and-so, that is proof, that is evidence that you conspired and you're a part of a gang and that you should be sent to prison for the rest of your life. If a Caucasian prosecutor did this and directed that action against African-American artists, that Caucasian prosecutor would rightfully be called a racist. Fannie Willis is at the forefront of sending African-American artists to prison, or attempting to send them to prison based upon their lyrics. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. That woman is a disservice to this community, or to the African American community. She's a disservice to the artistic community, and she's frightening. She is frightening. She's just like Donald Trump in many ways. She's attacking Donald Trump for acting in ways that are personal to him. Fannie Willis is acting in a way that's personal to her. She wants fame. How does she get fame? By prosecuting rappers based upon the lyrics of their song. There's this thing. It's called the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. The First Amendment says you have freedom of speech. Artists, and you matter whether you like rap or not, and I don't really care. But if you don't like rap, or if you don't like country, or if you don't like folk music, whatever that is, the fact of the matter is that doesn't give you the right to take those lyrics in a song and say, I'm going to prosecute that person for attempted murder or conspiracy to commit murder, or for being a part of a gang. That's what Fannie Willis has done. That's what she is doing. So when she now claims that she's this victim, she's not a victim. Let me put it this way. She's far less a victim than the rap artist who she is attempting to throw in prison for 20 years. For 20 years. Fannie Willis is either incompetent, corrupt, or just dumb as a rock. And frankly, I think she's all three. But let's be clear, Fannie Willis is a faultless victim. Fannie Willis, what Fannie Willis is not, is someone who should be sympathetic. I'm not sympathetic to her. You charging these artists, and again, I don't care about their lyrics. It's a lyric. You can say what you want in America, and it's not criminal. You can write a song, and it's not criminal. You can do all types of things, and they are not criminal if you're writing it or saying it. But she targets these almost exclusively African-American teenagers. But let me say this. The multicultural community owes a debt of gratitude to Fannie Willis. If it wasn't for Fannie Willis, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation. This conversation being that we have to watch out for ourselves. You have to hold yourselves accountable. Fannie Willis is proof positive that the African-American community is broken. It's broken. And part of the reason it is broken is because it isn't self-critical. It has chosen to elect people who don't care about the community. Fannie Willis does not have Fannie Fannie Willis is a disaster for the African American community. She's a disaster because Fannie Willis's sense of entitlement in her mind is more important than her than her sense of responsibility and duty that she owes her community. Fannie Willis cares about Fannie Willis, which is why she goes out and prosecutes African American rappers under a theory that is unconstitutional, and she does it because she knows she can't be challenged because these men will be in prison and won't have access to funds. So what does Fannie Willis do? Because she wants to be famous, she prosecutes African American men for lyrics written in a song, as unconstitutional act as you get. Fannie Willis's sense of entitlement is greater than her duty that she owes her community, and we know that. We know that for a fact. Here's the bottom line. Fannie Willis is not stupid, I guess. Fannie Willis was smart enough to intellectually understand that I could, meaning Fannie Willis and her department, could charge Donald Trump under the election interference statutes. Now, there's no question in my mind Fannie Willis doesn't care about, again, anyone else other than herself. She wasn't doing this for America. She wasn't doing this because it's the right thing to do. Fannie Willis chose to prosecute Donald Trump because she thought it could make her famous. Nothing wrong with that. She's not the first prosecutor to bring charges because they thought it could make them famous. What's wrong with what Fannie Willis did, frankly, in the real world sense of the term, is Fannie Willis then, after she brought this charge, failed to exercise basic levels of competence. Basic levels of competence. The reason Fannie Willis has failed to exercise basic competence is Fannie Willis's sense of entitlement is greater than the duty and responsibility she owes to her community. Fannie Willis believed that once she was elected, that election entitled her to do whatever she wanted, irrespective of her community. Fannie Willis is either incompetent. Fannie Willis is either incompetent, corrupt, or dumb as a rock. Now, my inclination is it's all three, but it's certainly one of the three. First of all, Fannie Willis lacks basic competence. Basic competence. I'm not talking about extreme abilities to do extraordinary things like solve world hunger. I'm talking about basic competence. Basic competence where you exercise just a modicum of just a modicum of introspection. Fannie Willis lacks basic competence. Basic competence. I'm not talking about go out and solve world hunger. Fannie Willis lacks basic competence of a regular, ordinary person. Fannie Willis is so incompetent. At no point in time did she say to herself, if I'm going to indict the former president of the United States, that guy who is certainly going to fight back, if I'm going to indict him, maybe I should not have a sexual relationship with the married prosecutor who I appointed. That is how incompetent Fannie Willis is. Fannie Willis lacks basic competence to say to herself that, if I'm going to indict Donald Trump, maybe I should not go on not one, not two, but 3 international trips with the prosecutor who I appointed on the case, the married prosecutor who I appointed on the case. Fannie Willis lacks basic competence to such a degree that in her mind, she never said, I should not continue forward with a sexual relationship with a man who is being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, who I appointed to this case, who, by the way, had no experience as a criminal prosecutor. If Fannie Willis cared about her duties and responsibilities she owed to her community, Fannie Willis would not have done any of these things. Fannie Willis did all of these things, and there's no dispute. There's no dispute that Fannie Willis appointed her friend who had no criminal experience in prosecution. No dispute that Fannie Willis had a sexual relationship with the prosecutor she appointed, and no dispute that this man was paid hundreds of thousands of dollars of money from the state based upon Fannie Willis appointing him. Someone with basic competence would say, that's probably not a good idea, but not Fannie Willis. Fannie Willis said, I can do whatever I want because I'm entitled. I'm Fannie Willis. I prosecute rappers so that I become famous. Fannie Willis, not only that, so she's incompetent. But here's the other part is, she, at the same time of proving she was incompetent, has also proved that she's corrupt. Fannie Willis, because she's incompetent, then came up with this premise, this idea, this way to explain away her incompetence. So when she got caught, shockingly got caught having an ongoing affair with the prosecutor who's prosecuting Donald Trump, you know, the guy who was surely going to lay down when he was charged with a crime which could send him to prison. In response to being caught having a sexual relationship with the married prosecutor, Fannie Willis came up with this crazy idea. She said, you know what I'll do is I'll just lie. What I'll say is that, yes, he paid for all of these trips on his credit card, but I paid him back in cash. Again, that's just, it's such a harebrained idea. It's so stupid. It's petulant, it's dumb, it's silly, and it's also corrupt. That never happened. It never happened. Never happened. She didn't pay him back. And if she did pay him back, it was after she got caught. It was after her sense of entitlement that she put in front of her duty she owes to African Americans in her community. It was only after she got caught that she said, we had an agreement. I paid for it in cash. Really? Really? Then you should be more believable. You should be more believable. By the way, I've played poker. I've tried cases. I know when someone's not telling the truth. Here, by the way, Fannie Willis is a perfect example of someone. Here's a tell when someone's lying. When someone covers their mouth and talks, or they go like this, or they turn away from the camera when they're talking, they're lying. Go back and watch Fannie Willis's testimony when she says, oh, my dad told me to always have 6 months of money in the house. And the whole time she's saying it, she's covering her mouth or she's turned like this. She's lying. She's lying, which means she's corrupt. She's incompetent for failing to exercise a modicum of basic intellect. She's corrupt for coming up with a lie to cover up the fact that she alleges that she paid hundreds or thousands of dollars back to her boyfriend, the married prosecutor. She's corrupt. She's corrupt. Or she's utterly incompetent and corrupt and dumb as a rock. She is dumb as a rock, too. Nobody would do this. You have to be dumb as a rock to say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to appoint someone who has no experience at all to prosecute Donald Trump. That's what I'm going to do. Her sense of entitlement, the premise, she thinks she's smarter than everybody. Only someone who has a sense of entitlement or as dumb as a rock would come up with that idea. You know this guy is going to be investigated. You know it. If you have any common sense, if you have any competence, or if you're not dumb as a rock. If you are dumb as a rock, do you say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have sex with the married prosecutor who I appointed to prosecute Donald Trump, and I'm going to have that prosecutor take me on not one, not two, but 3 international trips, paid for by the prosecutor who I appointed, who, by the way, is married. She's dumb as a rock if you think you're getting away with that. And she's dumb as a rock if she thinks she's getting away with that, and she thinks it's appropriate, and she thinks it doesn't require her to recuse herself. She's selfish. Selfish. But it's only about her. It's only about Fanni Willis. Fanni Willis, it was sad. It's sad to watch this whole thing. This is continuing. Her married boyfriend, his lawyer is going back on the stand next week, this coming week, because guess what? They appear to be caught in a lie. Why are you lying? This is a perfect example of what's wrong with the African American community, is a perfect example of why it has failed, is no one is holding these people accountable. Their people, holding their people accountable. Where's the African American community? They shouldn't be supporting her. They should say, first of all, why are you having sex with a married man? By the way, his wife is African American. Why are you, as Fulton County District Attorney, having an adulterous affair with a person you appointed? That's unacceptable. Why did you accept trips with the married prosecutor? Why did you do that? That's unacceptable. That's what the African American community should say. But instead, suddenly Fanni Willis is this victim. She is a victim because the African American community has become a victim because they don't create, they don't build, and they don't use power. And part of the reason they don't do those things is that they allow corrupt, incompetent, or just dumb as rock people to represent them. It's devastating to the black community. Devastating. Devastating. There's one African American leader that I know. I've done black politics for 30 years. One African American elected official who goes out and actually fights for African Americans every single day. Congresswoman Maxine Waters. She fights for Latinos every single day. She goes out and she fights for communities who she represents, African Americans and Latinos. She does it with competence, she does it with integrity, and she does it with tenacity. That's who we should support. That's who the African American community should support. But instead, they support Fanni Willis. Fanni Willis. And by the way, if there's any question that Fanni Willis was lying, here's the thing, and the media hasn't reported this, is she says, oh, my dad told me that you always keep 6 months of cash in your house. And then she immediately said, oh, but I don't have 6 months of cash in my house. It's this level, this sense of entitlement, this belief that you can say anything and people will believe you, that has put the African American community where it is today. It is broken. It's broken because it doesn't hold itself accountable. The multicultural community has to hold ourselves accountable. We cannot allow that type of representation to exist. This is a warning. We owe Fanni Willis a debt of gratitude. We owe the African American community a debt of gratitude. A debt of gratitude for warning us, for warning the multicultural community, for telling us and showing us that if you accept incompetence, that if you accept corruption, that if you accept elected officials who are dumb as rocks, you become a big, amorphous, gelatinous victim. Fanni Willis is a joke. Fanni Willis is a joke. She is corrupt, she is incompetent, and she's dumb as a rock, but she is also a warning to us. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's create power for ourselves. Let's build power for ourselves, and let's use it. And that starts with telling the truth. And let's tell the truth. Let's tell the truth. Fanni Willis should step down. Fanni Willis should move out of the way. And the African American community should start the process of rebuilding itself. That's it. That's all. I'm Michael Fletcher. This is the Fletchcast. I forgot the name of my podcast. Like and subscribe. Thank you. We'll see you next week.